Celtic finally get back to winning ways against Livingston this afternoon after a bumpy couple of weeks, and in the end it was a fairly comfortable result, 2-0 at Celtic Park. This is Tino with the Final Whistle Show, joined here by James. James, your initial response to today's win?
Just the main thing was to get the win, but I thought the football was good in parts as well. They've shown what they can do as a team, so just a really positive outcome, considering where this could have gone and what Livy brought to the table today. It was really the best teams in the world struggle to play against that, a 6 and a 4. That is tough. So there's a lot of kind of people sniping this player and that player. It's almost impossible. So to get the 2 goals and quick in the second half as well, really positive. So it sets us up. We needed to win these next 4 games. We're saying there's the first.
Yeah, there's a reason why Livy are bottom of the barrel, but Celtic they had to do what they had to do to break them down, and it's a frustrating first half. Celtic have created opportunities, which is the main thing, but I don't know. You tell me how you felt going into half time. Did you feel it was going to be one of those days?
No, I didn't because the chance creation was there, and that's really what's been lacking. We could have been 3 up at half time, no bother. It was just breaking the ball stuff, and as long as you kept your belief, your confidence, your tempo, I was pretty confident it would come in the second half. Not to say I wasn't frustrated at half time. I was, particularly the last 15, 20 minutes of the first half. I thought they dropped off and they felt, frustrated themselves, and that's not allowable. You can't get frustrated. You just got to keep going to the well and keep putting the chances in. So lessons to be learned there. In fact, Roger mentioned that in his press conference as well. So I'm sure that'll be getting imposed upon the players and pressed upon the players this coming week.
Yeah. Pre-match you've called 5-0. Do you want to cover that just now, or do you want to wait till later in the piece? When do you want to do that?
No there to finish them, but the chances were there. Could have been 6-7.
It should have been 5 on principle. Is that what you're saying?
It's a virtual 5-0, yes.
A virtual 5-0. Paddy said 4-0. You said 5-0. I said Celtic by a couple of goals. Just saying, but actually, in the bigger picture, in the balance of play, it should have been 3, 4, 5, to be honest with you. And you're absolutely right. I'm watching the game at times, and for the most part, Livy have adopted the Craig Levein 6-4-0 formation. On other occasions, It was 5-4-1 with Joel Newbley up top. Do you know what? Paddy's obviously highlighted it, and various different fans have seen it in recent years. Livy set up to centre. They put it back to their centre midfielder, who just booms it to Joel Newbley, who's massive, by the way. I don't know what he is. He's about 6'6" by the looks of it. But they boom up to Joel Newbley, who's deliberately taken up position to Greg Taylor. And what Celtic are doing to counter it, and you can watch this back, Liam Scales is almost on Greg Taylor's toes. He knows it's coming. They've clearly prepared for it. They know that teams are doing it against us now. And Liam Scales is almost a spare left back at the time, just going over to support. And in various occasions in the first half, you've seen Liam Scales and Greg Taylor doubling up against Newbley because that's all that Livy had. That's all they offered all game for the most part. But it's quite a bizarre setup. This is a top flight of Scottish football, and that's all they've got to offer. And Celtic, because of Greg Taylor's lack of physicality as well, are having to counter that by pushing 2 guys across. It doesn't make for pretty football, does it?
No, and it was, it was one of the ugliest games of football you're likely to see. But, if I'm Davy Martindale, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, there's not a lot of weaknesses in terms of, squad to squad, but they can pick on that one, and they had. And it's all very well, Scales going and doubling up and stuff like that, but that leaves gaps elsewhere. So, a better team can punish you there. So, we all know the work that needs to be done in January. It should have been done in the summer there. So that can't be something we have to rely on going forward. But yeah, it is what it is at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got San Fran Celtic in the comments. James picking me up.
He beat me too. I didn't want to embarrass you in front of the fans, but there you go.
I did say 3-1, but I also did say Celtic to win by a couple of goals, so I'll be selective on it. What I did say very genuinely was I would take any sort of win, because that's where Celtic were at, James. A couple of bad results there between Rugby Park and Hearts at Celtic Park last week, and we had to get back to winning ways, and we've done. So let's take it back to the start and the team lineup. And I think we just about called this, myself, you and Paddy, done the pre-match, and it's probably the 11 at the moment by default. There's not a great deal of competition in the Celtic team at this moment in time. With Maeda coming back from injury and Iwata still being out, I think a lot of folk would have taken a shot at being Bernardo, the third man in midfield, and Maeda, the third man up top, and that's how it played out. Were you happy enough with the lineup, or is it still a bit light for you? The bench was very light.
I thought Bernardo was okay. He was like a steady six. He works fairly hard off the ball. Didn't do anything wildly incisive. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It was a very middling performance. So I'd say he's winning the race with two guys that can't run behind him. Turnbull came on and frustrated. Could have had a goal if he'd gambled on Taylor's ball towards the end. So I thought, Bernardo was okay. We called the team spot on, apart from Paddy, who was opting for no right wing at all. But Maeda got that spot, and that was an interesting performance.
Yeah, a lot of folk are giving leeway to Daizen Maeda because he's been out injured. But I think that can only cover you for so much of it. There was times, you'll know the one, there was a few occasions in the first half, but there was the one where he ran the ball right into the goalie's arms. We broke fairly well. It was a good break. Whoever's found him, maybe Matt O'Reilly finds him in space out on the right-hand side. You're thinking, okay, let's have a go at the left back. Let's stand him up. And he just took one touch too many. He was never fully in control. And they ran at the goalie. And listen, I'm slating Livy because of some of their nonsense in top-flight Scottish football. That's nonsense from Maeda. Maeda's got some moments of brilliance and moments of madness. This is what we've spoken about often. He's everything all rolled into one game, but some of that was just really, really frustrating, given that we're looking for a spark just now, looking for something or someone to give us a lift, and Maeda wasn't the man for that today.
No, and I think Livy realised that all their focus was going on to kind of crowding out Palma and Taylor on the left, because they knew that the right was fairly ineffective for us. I will give him most cover. I think he's been rushed back. We discussed it in the weekly show. I said I'd rather be rushed guys back that are better quality, but the risk is they're just not ready. But the reason that we're doing that, we're even having to address that dilemma, is we don't have the squad cover, don't have the backup, just don't have the depth. So you wouldn't have Maeda there. You'd have him coming on maybe last 15, last 20, half an hour tops as he's building his way in. But I think they're keen to get him match fit for next Saturday. And there's debate going on, and it's fair debate that his best role in that game is to pin Tavernier in, and that nullifies much of what Rangers do. But then you're taking Palma out of the team, who had a middling game himself, but he's your threat from the left. Maeda's not going to be the attacking threat. So it's one for a wider discussion. But yeah, I think coming back from injury, I'm going to give him a pass today, but it was not good.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt if fit, Maeda and Palma will be your starting wingers next Saturday. They might switch over at different times. He might start with Maeda on the left and Palma on the right, and then switch it up depending on how the game's going. Because Barisic on the other side is one of Rangers' threats in terms of what he brings going forward. But listen, let's worry about all of that at some point next week. To touch on Paulo Bernardo that you mentioned, I thought he was perfectly fine as well. I thought he showed some nice touches. He's got an elegance about him. He's clearly quite a silky player. He can play ball and all that stuff. But my challenge to him or anybody that gets the nod in the third midfield position is you need to have more of an impact. You can't come in and coast. You can't come in and just do okay. What did you give him, 6 out of 10? That's not enough. He needs to come in and be assisting or be the enforcer in midfield or be the link up. And I don't know. I'd like to see more from whoever gets that nod.
That is it. That's such a key position for us. You can't be thrown in 6 out of 10 performances. You're the person that needs to be feeding the attackers and driving things. He was good at his pressing play, and that made sure we won the ball back quick, and was there for Scales and CCV to mop up and stuff. So he's I think the issue is he's a development player, and he's learning game by game. He's learning on the job. So you're not going to get much more than that. But a development player shouldn't be a first 11 starter. That is the issue. So I'm again, like Wade, I'm not going to jump on his back. My worry with him is I'm not really seeing enough from him to warrant any more than his current deal. I'm not seeing anyone clamouring. It wasn't like Jota and CCV. We were saying, panic, can we get these guys permanent? It's not like that for Bernardo. Much of that is down to game time, but then the game time he has, he really needs to shine. And we're not really seeing that, excellence. So a lot of work for him to do to remain a Celtic player.
Yeah, you've got to question whether there's value in paying the rumoured 5-6 million maybe for Bernardo. No brainer for Jota, no brainer for Carter Vickers. Less so with this fella. And if Celtic are looking at their budgets in the summer and they've got some key areas to strengthen, you've got to debate whether taking Bernardo at that kind of price is the right move. He might blow us away in the closing half of the season, but we'll need to wait and see. Individuals aside, what did you think of the approach in the first half? I thought it was quite a bright start. I think there was a bit of optimism in there, a bit of hope. Green Brigade obviously back in situ and making plenty of noise and being very positive. And I thought Celtic started well, but I also think that anxiety started to creep in fairly early, maybe 15 to 20 minutes in. You were starting to get those feelings that we weren't doing enough to break Livy down.
But we were, there was 2 or 3 chances, goal line stuff. O'Reilly, Kyogo, Maeda had 1 or 2. Bernardo had 1. If you're not creating the chances, fine, hit the panic button. But when you're creating the chances, it's just a matter of finishing. And you've got good finishers in there. It's not like you're playing with a turkey up top. Then the goals will come. But there's no doubt, the anxiety did creep in. But you'd have to ask the players to ask themselves why that creeps in. If you're showing that you can get in behind the team that's playing really, really low block and you're only level at 0-0 because you missed a couple of easy chances, then just keep doing what you're doing. There is work to be done on the mentality of this Celtic team, not for all, because a lot of them shouldn't be there and won't be there long term. But to get us through to the end of this season and win this league, and what a league it will be to win, by the way, we've got to have their mentality spot on.
Yeah. I noted your festive reference there, saying we're not playing a turkey up top. Very clever, James, slotting that in at this time of year. There were chances, you're absolutely right, and we were just... I actually thought Celtic were slow to react to a couple of things. Yeah, you're right, we got in the back a couple of times. There was some nice play. Kyogo and Greg Taylor at different times have done well to get the ball across face a goal. Maeda's, I suppose he's unlucky. He's come in. Maybe he should have made contact, different things. But it was one the goalie spilled, for example, was it Palma's free kick? But the goalie spilt one. And see, on a day like today, swirling wind and rain, horrific conditions for any goalkeeper, you've maybe got to be a wee bit more sharp and anticipating that he's probably going to drop that one and try and get in there quick. And I don't think we're quick enough to react at certain times.
No, I think there could be a wee bit more kind of cuteness about the play, just being a wee bit more aware of the whole situation. Like you say, the conditions were a massive factor. Goalie had a great game, I have to say, he kept him in it. But there's that one. There's the one that gets taken away from Maeda's toe. There's one that Maeda's kind of going through and goal, and he just has a fairly tame shot and doesn't really go anywhere. They've just got to be more clinical. But where we're at now is getting back to what we can be. So there's going to be rustiness within that as players find themselves going through the gears and get back to the top level. So I wasn't expecting, as much as I was napping 5-0, I wasn't expecting it to be the absolute fast flowing football of old, because just you're playing Livy, you're playing conditions, you get players coming back from low confidence. So all that put together, the result is something you've got to be happy with.
Yeah, and I think over the piece most folk are. What about half times? How are you feeling? I wasn't in despair at half time, but you're thinking we could and should be 1 or 2 goals up. We're not. There's still a feeling that the team are lacking a bit of confidence. And I think most thought the goals would come, and obviously they've come very quickly in the second half, and we'll get to that just shortly. But I don't know, was any anxiety on your part at half time? Did you think it was going to be a struggle?
The struggle I have is it's not happening for Dyson, and I thought he should have been hooked at half time. But then Jamesy came on and showed you why he shouldn't be on for a full 45. Yang came on and showed you where he should only be getting 15, 20 minutes here and there as a development player. So Rodgers is looking at his bench there and going, I want to take Dyson off, but what have I got? Sorry, but Mikey's not going to be the answer there. Mikey's just so far out of the picture. So in the end, Dyson stays on longer than he should have. Good to get extra minutes in his legs, but it was also meaning you get nothing down the right as long as Dyson's on the pitch. So, and that's how it transpired. Then James comes on and does a very Jamesy 2023 performance. Nice and safe, nice and steady. Nothing dramatic. So, I didn't really have any great anxiety or fears at half time. I was just thinking there's a real weakness in the team that needs changing, and we can't really change it. I would have changed it anyway, but James has shown us what we'd have got if I had done.
Yeah, just in terms of Dyson Maeda, I think it was clear that he was flagging a bit. You could see the kind of fatigue in him, and he's a guy that's all energy. He must be a nightmare to mark at times, particularly when he's in full flow. But there was a couple of times where Alistair Johnson's tried to play that curling ball down the right-hand channel, and it's a ball that Johnson's good at. He's got it in his locker. He's done it several times now for Celtic. Big area to play into. And Maeda just wasn't quite getting to it quickly enough. He would usually be lightning quick and getting onto it in the first place, and then getting himself down to the byline, and whatever happens beyond that, that's the Dyson lottery, isn't it? Whether he gets into the box or not. But he was certainly, known for getting on the end of it. Not so much today. He definitely tired, and yeah, Celtic had to make a change. And what you've got in terms of the wingers just now, James, is just real inconsistency. We know that in spells, Palma, is certainly capable. Yang showed in spells when he came on that he's got it in bits and bobs. Mikey Johnson less so at this moment in time. James Forrest less so. But what Celtic don't have is a couple of wingers, two wingers that they can rely on to be consistent. We don't have consistency from the wide guys. I think you're spot on about James Forrest. I like James Forrest. Good guy, good professional. But he's so safe in his play at this moment in time. I want wingers to take risks. And we can go back and yearn for the days of Ange. But Ange wanted players to take risks and take chances, particularly in the final third. And what you get with James Forrest is he receives the ball, out by the touchline, takes a couple of touches, stands up the defender and knocks it back. And then knocks it back inside. He's very unwilling to get to the byline, and one or two occasions he tried, and I think he won a couple of corners, but he lacked a bit of the urgency and the intensity that you'd want. Whereas, and you need to give it credit because he's had a hard time recently. I thought Yang came on and tried to make things happen, but what do you make of it in general? Are you seeing the same inconsistencies that I'm seeing?
Absolutely. But I would say there's inconsistencies in both players. Things that Yang can do, Jamesy can't. Things that Jamesy can do, Yang can't. And that's your transfer activity right there. I feel it's kind of even unfair at this stage to be discussing Jamesy because he's a senior pro. He's had his testimonial. He just shouldn't be playing first team football. I know he's got his contract and all that stuff, but I thought by now, not in this season, but I thought a couple of seasons ago by now James would be, heading elsewhere, heading off to pasture, all that stuff. I would have had a great career. So the fact that he's still getting picked to come on, he's always going to take that call. But it's just it's time waits for no one. We've said it for weeks and weeks now. So I don't really have anything to say about James. And I think I do say it's a wee bit on the cruel side. On Yang, he's just got so much to learn. He's got great feet, but he needs to know when to release the ball. He needs to know when to take his chances, take a shot instead of passing. I thought his game awareness was decent. He was showing in the right places and supporting his teammates. So this is the frustration. You can see there's something there, but you don't develop that into a guy by putting him on in really crucial games, 90 minutes every time. You just bleed him in and you work on him in the training pitch. So it's all back to you, Mark Law. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. So, for example, the 20 odd minutes or maybe slightly longer, can't quite remember, that Yang got today, is that the kind of game time that Yang should be getting, that Bernardo should be getting, that Thiago Holm should be getting? These guys that we've brought in, if these guys are development players, then is that the way you need to treat them? But ultimately, because we're short at the moment, Yang's maybe played more games than we anticipated. Bernardo's in and out, Thiago Holm's in and out. This disjointedness, this disconnect that we've got just now, if you're signing project players and development players to an extent, there's a place for that, but there can't be 9 of them, can there, or 8 of them, or however many you think we've signed at this moment in time. You need to balance that with the ready-made pros, and now's not the show for that, right? Well, I'm happy to cover Celtic's win today and the positives of that, but you're seeing more of the product of the summer window every time we take to the park.
You can't make 9 subs, Those guys should all be on the bench, coming in and getting played in. And then when you come in for a consistent 20 minutes, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and you're showing that you're improving the team based on the guy you replaced, then you start to get the start and you work on it that way rather than just saying, you're a centre mid, I'm desperate, and you get. We all know why we are where we are, and it's nothing to do with the team. It's nothing to do with the players. It's nothing to do with Rodgers. Not nothing. They've all got their part to play, but we know where the fault lies.
Yeah. Just quickly as well, before we get into the second half and the goals and all the good stuff, or some of the good stuff, you've got this situation again for the sub. I'm just going to read out the subs bench actually, because it didn't make for great reading at all. With every respect, so you've got Scott Bain, James Forrest, Mikey Johnson, Kwon back on the bench, Tony Ralston, Dave Turnbull, Stephen Welsh, and Yang. We were chatting. I was heading into the game with my dad and Kush, and we were chatting about what do you do if Celtic are chasing the game and need a goal today? You know, for nothing each for a long spell, even find ourselves a goal down, which wouldn't be out the blue the way Celtic have been playing. Who's your game changer? Do you throw on and hope for the best? Is it Mikey Johnson? Is it Forrest? Is it Yang? Just a lack of inspiration. Several defenders amongst the bench as well. And also like this pattern emerging that Mike Navrocki and Lager Bielka cannot get in ahead of Stephen Welsh, for example, on the subs bench. It's all over the place, isn't it? Like today's good. Getting the win today is huge. Hopefully we do the same against Dundee on Boxing Day and then we can prep for the big one on the 30th. But you can't paper over the cracks that there's some real nonsense going on within Celtic squad.
Yeah, we'll give Home a pass. I think he had an illness that kept him out during the week. But, you know, on paper, you're looking at, is Kwon now better than Home? You know, that's your initial reading, but if Home's getting an illness, fair enough. I think he was really looking to Yang to be that guy. You know, when it was kind of frustrating, Livy at 2-0 down, going even more deep, which is just something else, man. What he's just trying to avoid getting a doing, because it doesn't really matter. You'd be as well as to have a go. You get some big lumps there, get the ball up the pitch. And I think he said to Yang, go and see if you can unlock defences. And to a degree, he did that. So the answer to your question is not a good one. Yang was the answer. As to who you looked to for inspiration.
And that's not the answer we're looking for at this moment in time. You're right about Livy, by the way. 2-0 down, I watched the guys. It's Scotty Pittman that David Martindale always refers to. Wasting time at 2-0 down. The life of a Livy player must be a misery. And I understand there's financial stuff at play, but there's guys in there that can actually play ball. They've got some decent footballers. They've got a young midfielder, Stephen Kelly, that I quite like. I think he's ex-Rangers, but doesn't seem to feature just now. And there's various others, but it's not good the way they approach football, and they're bottom of the table for a reason. And we'll see how that plays out by the end of the year. We're jumping about a bit, so let's get back on track. So half time, you're just back on, and it's 1-0 Celtic, and it's a goal that Kyogo's been crying out for. I think it's his first goal in 12 games, James. He's 9th of the season. And it's a real poacher's goal. It's a real striker's goal. It's the whole cross-come shot thing from Palma. I think it was going wide, and I think Kyogo's done well to divert it. But goal aside, you could see the release of tension in him, couldn't you? You could see what it meant to him. He's usually scores his goals, and he's kind of the happy wee guy, and he does the different celebrations. It was just a release for him today.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we were talking pre-match that this was the game for it. You know, I thought he would have actually put him down for 2. A couple of pals were saying hat tricks and stuff. I think everyone felt a goal was coming for him, you know, because he's always there. He's sniffed around. He should obviously have scored before that. But it's great work from Palma in the nicest way possible. He's absolutely used Greg Taylor. Just said, you go down that line and I'll pretend I'm going to give it to you and I just won't. You know, and Taylor's done a good job in making that run, diverting maybe 2 defenders, I think, which just opens up this big space. So Palmer's got and it was a cross-come shot, but it, whether that's by luck or design, probably design, because it doesn't really matter. You don't need to score. You're looking for the goalie to spill it, or you're looking for one of your strikers to be there, or you crack into the top corner yourself. And Kyogo's just there where he should be, and he's watching his line, and he beats the offside trap so well. Defender kind of helps him out. To be fair, the defender was drawn towards Taylor, which is drawn towards the line, which creates a bigger gap for Kyogo. And there he is, acres of space, no chance of offside. And it was sheer relief from him, obviously enjoying the goal, but then after that, you could just see the weight lifting off him. So that sets him up well. That's taken the monkey off his back, and hopefully get into Tuesday and get a couple of goals there, and then obviously get into next week.
Yeah, the run you mentioned by Taylor, he should be making it every single time. Paddy's been crying out for this, and Paddy's defence of Louis Palma is that Louis Palma's been nullified to an extent that he's not had that, left back overlapping or or giving him alternative option, because sometimes when Taylor makes that run, he should be getting it, and sometimes, like the first goal today, Palma should use that as the decoy, cut inside and do his thing. And Palma's got that kind of wicked delivery, hasn't he? You know, he puts a bit of pace and a bit of spin on things, and it's worked out like it should do for Celtic. If we've got this wide guy who's seemingly encouraged to come in at different times, then when you do come inside, you need to get your shot away or get some sort of delivery into the box. Kyogo's been first to react, and it's been, as we agreed there, it's been a real relief for him just to get that goal. And hopefully that does now spur him on. We've seen him score a couple of good goals at Dens Park before. He scored, I think, a double on his first season up there, a couple of really good strikes. And hopefully he can get up there with a bit of confidence. But a goal of any sort today is, what Kyogo was crying out for. I think in terms of assists, that was Palma's 7th and 8th today. So we'll get to the second in just a minute as well. So despite the fact that he's not putting in a 90-minute performance at this moment in time, he's having an impact. I kept saying about Mikey Johnson. If Mikey Johnson's got to come in the team, you need to clock up numbers. You need to get goals and assists, because that's what people, particularly your manager, take notice of. And even though Palma's not giving you a complete performance, he's ultimately walked away with man of the match there today in the 2 assists. So fair play to him. The second goal, James, Celtic aren't famed for their goals from corners, but we've got one today. And Liam Scales, I thought, had a couple of moments in the first half that weren't great, but I thought he was very good in the second half, and really pleased overall for him to get a goal. I know he scored for Celtic before during Ange's time, but it was good for him to kind of cap off this recent run of games by getting a really important goal for us.
I think first half he was relatively frustrating, but I thought the second half he was excellent. He was mopping up. He was very clinical in his passing in the second half, and the first he kind of just struck one out of the park for nothing kind of thing. So there's rawness in his game, roughness in his game, and I think that to a degree will always be there. But the goal and for himself, the confidence and the boost, and almost a reward as well, because he's been playing very well and putting in such effort. So it's great for him to get on the end of some goals as well. Carter Vickers could have been himself a couple of times too. But yeah, and to get it so quickly after the first, that the game's dead. The second is so important when you're playing a team like Livy with such a block, because they would take that 1-0 all the way to the 87th, 88th minute and then just fling the kitchen sink at it. At 2-0, that's not going to happen. They're just looking to stop the doing. So it was a really crucial goal and great for the big man to get it.
Yeah, so that's 51 minutes on the clock, and as much as you'd have liked to see a third, a fourth, and for your prediction, particularly a fifth goal, it just takes the weight off. Had it been 1-0 up to 75, 80, 85 minutes, that wouldn't have made for fun viewing at all. And you seen that Livy get a free kick. They didn't attack much at all. Joe Hart, I don't know if you clocked it, but Joe Hart was playing about with the spare ball behind the goals to keep himself busy. He had next to nothing to do in that second half. But Livy did get their free kick at one point, fairly late in the game, and nothing came of it. But they're always capable. And had they got something that made it 2-1, you'd have still been a wee bit nervy getting into the final phase. But yeah, generally speaking, because they offered so little, the game is effectively done at 51 minutes. And the only slight disappointment, and it's no biggie, is that Celtic didn't just kind of top things off with a third goal. We've made the subs that we've mentioned. We've covered a couple of them, but O comes on at the same time as Yang, and it's for Kyogo and it's for Palma. What do you think of O? Didn't get too involved, didn't get too many touches, had a decent header. What part has he got to play in the coming weeks?
I mean, he's got to be crucial, between now and the Asian Cup. He had a cracking shot, to be fair, that stung the goalie's palms as well. And I think we could have done better with the rebound. We should have been more sharp there. I think it's maybe fair to Jamesy. And yeah, he was unlucky with his header. Good save for the goalie. So he could be sitting with a kind of really game capping goal there. He's a player for me that is nowhere near the level we need to be at. And I'm not saying he can't get there, but he's not there just now. And let's see if we can develop him. But you back him. You certainly back him when the time gets on. I think he tries hard. He's physical, so there's a wee bit of that. He can get about that kind of defence at corners and stuff. So I'd like him to be better than he is, but he frustrates me. And it's not his fault, because he's playing. He's playing a volume of football that he shouldn't be. He's a development player for me. Long way to go.
Yeah, I'd like him to be better than he is. You could say that.
Same for myself. I wish myself.
Yeah, I'd like myself to have been better than what I was. I'm somewhere along those lines, though. I think he's got something to offer. Do you know what? He should, at the moment, he's Celtic's second striker, right? He's the backup striker to Kyogo. He should be third or fourth choice striker in
Yeah,
a
easy.
positive sense. He should be allowed to develop behind a couple of seasoned pros. Kyogo's what, 28, 29? Celtic should have someone else. It's just a small thing. I was looking at the back of the programme today, and it's got like your kind of various kind of team lineups and all that stuff in the back. And Celtic have got a number 8 in Kyogo. And at this moment in time, Celtic Football Club don't have a number 9 or a number 10. It goes from Kyogo 8 to Leah Labad at 11. And I know that's a small thing. And I know the modern game is very different with numbers, but it shows how light we are in terms of genuine striking options. I was chatting yesterday or last night to Anthony Joseph from Sky Sports in an episode which will go live tomorrow, Christmas Eve. And we were chatting just about Celtic striking options and this whole thing about, but Maeda can also play number 9. And if needed, Palma can also play up front. I don't want guys who can do a couple of jobs and are utility men, Phil Neville type footballers, as I call them. You need guys who are specialist strikers. Kyogo is a striker all day long. O might become one of those guys, and there's a gap in between at this moment in time. And Celtic need to bolster the ranks, particularly a game like today. That's a game that would be perfect to bring on I hate keeps going back to Giakoumakis, but somebody like Giakoumakis, a good quality, reliable striking option where you throw him on at 2-0 and there's every chance that he goes and makes it 3 or 4 and your game's put to bed. With at this moment in time, you just don't know entirely what you're going to get from him. I think, as I say, he's got something to offer. You're absolutely right that, the strike that he got away was, had a bit of something behind it. He's unlucky with the header, but he's still developing as a young guy and he would benefit from having Kyogo and someone else to learn from. But anyway, like a lot of the stuff we covered during these games, it's bigger picture stuff, and we'll see how that plays out in January and beyond. David Turnbull is the last sub. He comes on with about 10 minutes to go for Bernardo. I was chatting about David Turnbull. Don't know if we caught a bit about the pre-match about the fact that he's now about to go into the final months of his contract, and the priority for David Turnbull is not getting injured. And that's no slight on him as a guy. That's just the position he finds himself in just now. And I don't know, I'd rather someone else, if we had a better option, came on than a guy who's protecting himself to an extent.
Is Quan that bad? Aye, is the answer aye.
Maybe. But do you know what? We don't know. Quan is the mystery man.
But you know what I mean? If you're going to get I'm not going to use any disparaging terms because Turnbull just finds himself where he is, and any player would do the exact same thing in his position, particularly with a really rough injury record that he's had and the recovery that he's had. So I don't blame him at all. But yeah, you're going to get nothing from him. It's like just be choo-choo train, safety, just like run up the wing, run across the way, give it to a guy down there, not put myself in any bother. Could have gone for 1 or 50-50 with the goal at the end, didn't. Maybe that's why. He'd be putting himself in a dangerous position to go for that one from Taylor, and your theory covers that. So my question is, if you're not going to get anything from him, and if he's not going to take chances, and why should he? Then can you afford to take that chance on putting him in? Watford's this time next week, and it's the last 15, and we need something that's one each the last 10 minutes. Can you bring him on? You can't. So what's the point in doing against Livy? A bit of short window stuff, maybe. Don't know, but it's pointless bringing him on. Just everyone work together to the best end. If it's pastures new for Turnbull, then let's find him his move. Let's find it in January. Let's get a couple of bob in, take it off the wage bill, work positively to a good end. There's just no point in having another 4 or 5 months of this.
Yeah, I don't think it's Celtic's responsibility to put somebody like Turnbull in the shop window. Ultimately, given the status of his contract, you're not going to get much for a guy like David Turnbull. You're probably not going to recoup the money that Celtic paid for him either. There was another 50-50. I don't know if you missed it. It was out near the North Stand. I don't know, 5 minutes to go, and he had a chance to go smashing into a tackle a guy, and he doesn't take it. And I can make my peace with that, kind of, at 2-0 against Livy. If that's the Blood and Thunder on next Saturday, it's not acceptable. What you're going to need is everybody to a man, the 11 that start and the guys that get involved off the bench, to just begin in 100%. I don't mean steaming in and making stupid, rash tackles, but you need to be fully committed to that game to give yourself any chance of getting the positive result and the 3 points. And I do defend him by saying it's human nature, but David Turnbull probably can't. His head probably won't allow him, particularly given his injury situation as well. And David Turnbull would maybe approach, and maybe I'm doing him a disservice, but this is what I think. David Turnbull might approach this one next week if he's given the nod from the start or off the bench and give you 92, 96, 95%, something like that, which isn't enough. It's just not acceptable. Anything less than your everything isn't acceptable in this game next week. But again, it just comes back to where Celtic have strengthened or not. That Brendan Rodgers maybe feels that in the closing stages of this game at 2-0 up, he can't turn to Kwon. He can't rely on Kwon at this moment in time, even though he's just been signed in the summer. So instead of turning around to the guy that's been brought in, he has to go back to the well to David Turnbull, who's in all likelihood seeing out his Celtic career. And it's just one of a number of imbalances we've got across the board. And people can comment on what Brendan Rodgers is and isn't doing, and rightly so at times. There's no doubt he's been hamstrung by some of the squad options that he's got available to him.
Yeah, I mean, just focusing on the midfield situation there. So we knew the midfield needed to be improved. So we signed 3 midfielders, and none of them are, Bernardo's thereabouts. Holmes not getting his game. Cohen's not getting his game. I mean, that just goes straight back to recruitment and saying, what are you playing at? The fact that we've got defensive centre mid on the bench there in Kwon that hasn't shown anything that he could let McGregor go and play in an 8 position while Iwata's out. The big hope for next week has to be that they're working really hard and getting Iwata fit for that one, because that changes our game entirely. But if it's not, then you're looking at the same as today. And then if Bernardo's tiring on 70 minutes, whatever, what's the option? It can't be Turnbull in a game like that, especially if it's a crucial point in the game. I don't know. We haven't got the bleeping machine here, so I'll not be swearing.
Yeah, I don't think it could be Turnbull. I'm also not convinced that Bernardo's the man for that. The blood and thunder that game brings, like you, I'd love it to be Iwata, but we're not hearing anything. We're not getting much by way of injury update there, and I'd love to see him pop up against Dundee, meaning that he's in the running or in the reckoning for Saturday against Rangers. Let's look at the bigger picture. So obviously the game plays out. Celtic very worthy winners. There's no doubt about that, and I suppose let's try and find the positives like we generally try and do. Clean sheet. Line share of possession, created several chances. Kyogo gets his goal, a couple of assists for Louis Palma. Generally speaking, there's lots of good stuff, but Celtic now need to take that on another. The first thing to do today was get the 3 points. We now need to go to Dens Park and win, but win well, don't we? We need to take some confidence into next Saturday.
It's no good way though. There'll be a heavy pitch. Obviously, their game is off today against Aberdeen waterlogged, so. Yep. Pitch will still be heavy. I don't see any sunshine in the next couple of days. Tony Dock, very experienced guy, will know exactly what he needs to do to give himself the best chance. So we're probably coming up against a fair amount of block then as well. So it's how we unlock it. But yeah, it's crucial that we do. But you've now got that. That was a big confidence win, and particularly confidence win with Kyogo scoring. So you take that into the next game and you just really push it, because we've got to be high tempo in that as we were today. So yeah, I'm very positive about that, and then seeing how we set ourselves up for next week.
Yeah, did you catch any of Brendan Rodgers post match? I heard him briefly in the car on the way back. Yeah. But what's the general chat? What's his take on it?
I just felt, particularly the first half, they didn't get the goals that their play merited. They'd started well, did what he asked them to do. High tempo, high chance creation. Didn't get their goals that they wanted, and then he said half time. So he just had to remind them to keep doing what they're doing. There was no rockets and stuff like that. There was a bit of booing at half time, which I thought was harsh.
Yeah.
I can understand it, but I also think it's harsh. There's 90 minutes in a game, and it wasn't like Kilmarnock and it wasn't like Hearts. It was totally different. So that's just my thoughts on it. But Brendan, he was relatively happy at half time. It was just a matter of taking your chances, and then obviously it runs out as he'd instructed them to do in the second half, and the job's done.
Yeah, I hope we don't fall into the habit of being that team that boos at half time if you're not winning 2 and 3-0. I get it when you're 2-0 down to Hearts last week and there's a bit of tension there, and that's fine. Less so today. Nothing each. Plenty of time to go. And at a time when the team needs your backing, and I thought the support were good today, and I thought the Green Brigade made a huge difference and the boys in the opposite corner were doing their bit as well. But there's been a call for unity. You know, it's Brendan Rodgers has spoken pre-match yesterday, Friday, and that's been the order of the day. Let's get together now. We've got a crucial period of games here before this winter break, and let's spend it together. And yeah, I thought it was just far. There's a time in football for booing. I thought half-time nothing each against Livy, for me, wouldn't have been the right time at all. James, your final comments, and also I'm just thinking, if the game's on against Dundee, and I think San Fran or somebody's mentioned that it might be off due to weather, so we need to watch that space.
Yeah.
If the game's on, when are you and I getting together for a pre-match? Because Santa's coming and there's some busy days. So let me know your diary at the moment, or offline if you like. And any final comments.
Christmas dinner.
And any final comments about this one today?
It was absolutely crucial to get a win today. And David Martin was a hard time for myself included, because he turns out the worst brand of football you could ever hope to see. But he is where he is, and he plays that game usually very, very well. And he set himself up to play that game well today, and it was working for him until just those wee bits of magic made the difference. The first goal and then the second. Palma obviously been critical in those. So we got the 3 points that we absolutely needed. We got a Kyogo goal. We got a bit of confidence. We showed we can play football. You know, I think there's a wee bit of a temptation of the players to believe the negativity without looking at the positive stuff they've done this season as well. You know, tearing into a commanding lead in the league, playing good football against decent European opposition. So you need to kind of look back on those things, as well as the mistakes you've made, and take it in the round, and then get back to the level you can get to. And I think they put their first foot on that road today, and took a step towards getting back to their very best. So, delighted with it overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got to now kick on to the next one. So that was the first of 4 really important games, all going well. Boxing Day game will go ahead against Dundee. Then it's Rangers on the 30th, and then is it Man on the 2nd or 3rd? I've not even looked at 2024, James, but that's the last. That's the 4th of 4 really important games. But at the moment, Celtic are back to winning ways, which is the main thing. We've got that 5-point gap at the top of the table, and let's see what the next couple of games bring. Thanks to James for joining me today. Thanks, as always, to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube live, especially for the comments. If you are watching on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, please follow and review us wherever you do. So, as mentioned, I had a good chat with Anthony Joseph, Sky Sports News transfer expert. So we had a good conversation last night. That'll go live tomorrow, which is Christmas Eve at 10 in the morning. So that's one to look forward to. But in the meantime, for myself and James, thanks to you all for tuning in, and we'll see you again very soon.